Next we're going to put the, once those bolts are all tightened up, we're going to put the thrust washers in for the intermediate gear. Now we put some grease on those just to hold them into place. There's a little tab at the bottom, that goes, well, that goes at the bottom naturally. That'll keep that in. We do the same for the other side. Now, just remember that the brass bit, the brass bit here, goes towards the bearing, which is on here. That's the surface it runs on. Not that way around, that way around. Sorry, did you say that? So they don't go that way, they go that way, alright? Now, I'm going to have a problem in a minute because I might have to stop this, because I realised that we might be missing a few parts. That's all right there. I realised that there's an O-ring on the end of the shaft. There's an O-ring, and I haven't got one. I might have a look through my supplies and see if I've got one. We'll put some grease on these bearings, just to give them a fighting chance. Same with that one. And then, with a bit of luck, we can put that gear in. This is tricky. Especially doing it on a side like this because the damn shells drop. Let me play around with this a little bit because my back's to the camera. Isn't that just marvellous? You get to the good bit where the gear just drops in and the bloody battery had gone flat and I was talking to myself. Put some grease on the shaft. I did find an O-ring. I'm going to do this from the other side because I've got to get the alignment right. For the gear and the pin. Oh, so there we go. Now that's how it goes in. Let's tap that in. Now somewhere on here we should find that little plate, this little thing here. I'm going to put that in, and the stud which will keep it in place. There we go. So that's that in place. So we're all happy underneath here. I've got I put the clutch plate on the spline just to make it easier to turn the gears. They're turning beautifully. I don't think there's much more we can do with that apart from put a few dabs of grease on just to help it until oil gets around it. Well, it sounds a bit primitive, but you never know. You never know how long these things are going to stand for. You know. Now, so the next thing, we'll check the faces here. It's all nice and clean. And we're going to put the gasket on the bottom. Now, this is the gasket. It's cardboard, and it's delicate. Look how thin it is, like here. So what we're going to do is just put a coating of Hylamar on the faces here and on the cover rather than the gasket, because there's a good chance we could bugger up that. So we're going to get the casing cover washed off. You want to degrease as much as you can the surfaces that's going to be joined, and Most important to blow all the little holes out. Now, this transfer case didn't have studs, it had bolts in instead of studs and nuts. So that's going to be quite... Right, so that's nice and clean. Now we're going to try and find the Harlemar. I don't know where the hell that's gone. Paper towels everywhere. Hope it doesn't catch fire tonight. Right, a bit of Harlemar on this surface. You could use silicone, I suppose, on this one. But you see the problems with them are with silicone and things like that is that you really on tin, you know, like sheet metal covers such as this, there's so much deflection and imperfections that you sort of really need some paper to take it up, because you know this is 1969 machining. Wasn't like hypersensitive stuff that we've got today, you know, that will find be perfectly flat. So I don't care if it squidges out the side, but you see, the thing is between where the thread is here, the thinness of the casting here, well, it's a little bit thin, if you see what I mean. So that's why we're sort of putting that in. It doesn't matter if it goes in the threads a little bit, it doesn't matter too much. You just get some on, that's the main thing. Make sure there's a nice even coat. There we go. Yeah. That's lovely. That's lovely looking. So now we can put our gasket on. Like that. We'll do the same again with the cover. We'll just smear it so it goes more, you know, onto the sides and where the bolts are. Because invariably the gasket always leaks around the bolts. It never won't leak here. It'll leak here where it's thinnest. So we're going to grab a few nuts. Just grab a couple. Remember to put the drain bung at the bottom. I have seen people put the drain bungs at the top. Put the cover on upside down. It is possible to do. There we go. One. So I'll continue doing this. Now once the bolts are finger tight down, just give them a nip. Start in the middle. Always put all the bolts in before you start to tighten them down. I see a lot of people put things together and they tighten the first bolt down and then they can't get the rest of them in. It seems stupid, it seems logical, but I've seen people do it. And again, just a nip. Don't do them with a gun, don't strip the threads out. That's all I want, no more. You can see the Harlemar squidging out. We'll tidy that up in a minute. So they're nice, they're snugged down. And we'll just go around them all to make sure we haven't missed any. See, there's one up there that's got snug down. Just always check stuff. Always checking them. That's it. Whilst we're here, we might as well put the plug in. Now this one hasn't got a dimple in it for some bizarre reason. I don't know why that is. But we have new copper washers for them, so we'll put them on. Yeah, sometimes a bugger to get on and off once they've been there. Washers are a bit tight to put on, and be careful of your fingers because you can get a cut on your finger. There we go. There we go. That's that done. Next thing. Well, yeah, like I say, we are getting towards the end now. You can tell we're running out of paper towel now. Oop. Oh, jeez, I'm going to move that. I'm running out of space now. Wait a minute. Funny how you end up with more stuff than you started with. Boxes of this and boxes of that. What we're going to do now is fit this cover. We've got to make sure that there's no bits of gasket on it. Sometimes, like in that corner, there was a bit of gasket there. We take that off. Now at the same time we'll clean off that residual Hylamar, make it look a bit proper, you know what I mean? That's the nice thing about Hylamar, it cleans up really easy. So, I think these covers on here are actually, they'll go on anywhere, not like a Defender. Yeah, that's alright. Get the gasket. Now you see, this is a better design for a gasket. You see, or for a flange. You see there's a lot of meat here between the stud. Sometimes you get gaskets that's really, really thin here. And they tend to break here. Well, this is quite a good design, so I like that. So we'll put some sealer on. Again, spread it with your fingers. Drop the gasket on the cover, align it up, press it down. There's a bit of grease in that bearing just to get it a good start. Put the cover on, and now we'll bolt it down. So we're getting towards the end of this back end of this Land Rover here. About to put the handbrake drum on, but we haven't got any shoes. And not only haven't got any shoes, you remember the washer that the fancy star-shaped washer that we put on the front? Well, we haven't got one for the back. That's a bit of a problem. I checked the reverse stop. That was fine. Didn't even bother touching it. So then the cover can go onto there. But what I wanted to show you, if I wind this camera down a bit, there's one thing that, you know, one of the reasons why these things leak oil onto the handbrake. You see down here there's a little notch. Just See if we can zoom in. There we go. You can probably see that there. There's a little notch in there, and that means that any oil that's caught in here from come out of your seal can drop down there and drop onto the floor rather than into your handbrake shoes. But because all the dirt and rubbish is getting swept up in there, and unfortunately that gets blocked up and it doesn't work. So I've made sure that the seal surface here is perfect. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I'm going to put some grease in the seal here while we can. There we go. And then we'll put the handbrake. Now I'm going to put the handbrake on just to get rid of it, you know, just to sort of use it up. And put the bolts on. Now I always thought there was a gasket goes behind there, and indeed there is, but it's not with the gasket set. Oh, that's interesting. Tell you what we'll do, we'll clean it up and we'll put some Hylamar on it, seeing we've got it out. Now we're getting to the end. We've turned this box scrambler on at the front again. There's a little tiny O-ring that just sits in the top of here where the pin goes down. Fortunately with the O-ring set we had one, and there's another O-ring that sits on the shaft here, and again we had a set of inch size O-rings, so that wasn't too bad. That piece didn't turn out too bad. I'm going to put some grease in there. Ooh. Oh. Best part of the job. Grease all this lot up. You know, can't put enough grease on. And then we'll slip that over. Like that. Then we'll find the three last bolts, the little bolty pieces, and screw that on. Like that. Now that will pull those O-rings tight. Well, there's one O-ring in there, pull that one tight like this. There's that one, last one's here. Now this might be a bit difficult to work out the four-wheel drive mechanism, because the inside the vehicle the little lever that was coming up was on a spring. What? We haven't got that. Good thing to get, a set of universal O-rings. Get a set in metric, get a set in inch if you're going to do these type of jobs, because look at me, middle of nowhere, and that's what was really handy. Right, so now I'm going to salvage the linkage off the other one. So there's the linkage, because this arm here off the original vehicle was practically straight. So we're going to put some grease on there. Now observe inside here there is a little brass bush. A bush. We're going to put that pin in, and then we're going to drop that down and put that bolt in. See, this has got a little bit bent, but it's not too bad. It'll straighten out. Yeah, so we're getting near the end. One thing I usually do on jobs like this when I've finished is just go around everything and check you've got every bolt tightened up. Because there's so many of them, it's quite easy to forget one. You know, it's best to do it now. Right, let's give that a nip. And that should be nice and free. Last thing. Well, not the last thing, we've got the lever to put on, but this piece goes on here. With a nut. And I bet you we haven't got a spanner for that. Yes, we have. So, where's the shifter gone? Now, I'm going to have a look and see if the other lever's any better. The answer is no. So what I'm going to do is just put this through the wire wheel and clean this up a bit. Cleaned up, some grease into here, and we're going to put that little spring back in there. I don't think it does much really. And then we can pass up that shaft through there. No, we don't. We pass it up through the other side. Try not to lose the spring. How the hell are we going to do that? That should be the other way. Oh, this piece of rubber fell off. That should go that way. Oh, that's right, because it's far forward, isn't it? I don't want to drop it on my foot. That would spoil my day. There we go. Through there. That's it. That's how it should go. Bring this up. And then this goes in the bottom, like so. As I suspected, that anti-rattle clip does bugger all. I'll put the bolt in. And that's working fine. Hey! Now, that anti-rattle clip is as much use as a glass eye. Rattling around like a good one. I think we need a new one, and I think I'll give Michelle some, so I'm not going to bolt that up yet. But we need the nut tightening up here. We need a few more parts, but I think we'll sign this off because I think we've got the rough idea of it now, haven't we? I think it's going to be a good box. Everything seems to work fine. We've got the feet to put on. That's about it really. Like I say, we're stuck for handbrake shoes, and we'll do the handbrake on a different video just because it's easier to work on. But for now, that box is done and not kaput. See you later.